So our robes, we make toothwoods, which are, I explained this the other day for the Bita's group, but we get a branch of a bush which has herbal qualities, and maybe the branch is about 2 inches in diameter, and we beat one end into a mushroom shape, and then we split it 12 ways, 16 ways, and then we carve one end down into a sharp end, which is the toothpick, and then the brushy end is the brush. So we make our own toothbrushes, called toothwoods, and they have a kind of bitter quality. And then when we have a ceremony of asking for forgiveness to our teachers, then we present them with flowers, incense, candles, and we put toothwoods on as a kind of presentation. But those kinds of exercises, like for a young monk, are great. Just very, very repetitive, and, just kind of constantly making these sticks or bowl stands, making bamboo sticks. So at Wat Bapong, there was a lot in the life which was repetitive, that helped understand how to be present. You had to be present, you cut yourself, but also it wasn't so complicated that you had to absorb totally in it. You had enough space to be able to notice what the mind was doing. And as the mind was, going off into all its tangents, then just do this now, just do that now. So in my own life, has been a whole lifestyle of doing that, as well as these more refined kind of considerations. So what I offer now is pretty refined compared to what I was doing 50 years ago. 50 years ago, I was surviving. It wasn't very refined, but the activities were all about present moment awareness, knowing the way things are, and we just built our life on that. Again, that combination of compassion and stillness. How might you? Well, first of all, does that make sense? Always, that's the thing. Does that make sense as a reasonable kind of attitude to develop moment by moment? If it does make sense, how might I instigate that? How might I encourage that? How might I intend that? Because it is an intention, isn't it? The way I pay attention requires a certain kind of intention. So I can pay attention with, like if I'm involved in making furniture, then my attention is got a good basis of fear in the background. Because if I just mess up with this machine, I'm going to mess up that piece of wood, and I'm going to mess up my fingers. So there's a kind of stress there in getting it right. Maybe I'm just not very good at it. But that sense of stress is actually a good thing for me, because then I'm very, very careful. Right? And so my intention in putting a piece of wood through the jointer or something like that has all that information around it. It's in a context. I pay attention from a context of need in there. So what's the context of samma samadhi, of right? I don't like the word concentration. Of right meditation. Let's call it meditation. What's the context there? Well, the context is suffering and the end of suffering. And sometimes when we talk about samadhi, quite often people are talking about some exalted experience, which they've read about and heard about and maybe experienced. But then I say, yeah, but it has to be in the context of suffering and the end of suffering. And if I'm just trying to get some experience, what's that got to do with the end of suffering? So the fallacy there, I think, is there's a kind of cultural bias, a cultural idea that if you really meditate fiercely, I mean really fiercely, you mess about, and you just go, hell, just keep that somehow you're going to get to an experience where your head blows open and you'll be enlightened. And nothing else will be needed from then on. Have you ever done that one, Richard? I certainly did that. I was young. But it doesn't, it's not about tomorrow. It cannot be about tomorrow. It does not make sense. It's timeless. So it always is about here and now, Dhamma. Can't be about tomorrow. So the attitudes I brought to my early meditations were based on attainment and heightened experience and final mind-blowing experience. That was the intention behind it. But it wasn't from wisdom. I learned. We all learn. So the context is of Samma Samadhi in Theravada Buddhism is the abandonment of craving, cessation, nirodha, the end of craving. And if that is not behind the intention that I'm practicing with, then I can't be on track. It can't be right. So if I'm already trying to get something, achieve something, get rid of something, then I already have a wrong intention, wrong view, wrong understanding. But if I enter into the practice as awareness, presence, sustaining presence, open-hearted, compassion, those kinds of attitudes, then it's not about desire, it's about the attitude right now. So check that out as you're meditating. Are you trying to get something or get rid of something? And the language I'm trying to employ to encourage that, I would more correct attitude is non-becoming and non-resistance. Not going somewhere, not trying to get rid of something. And then the third of those is non-preoccupation. So how do you let go of the preoccupation of thought? That's the really tough one, because thought just seems to preoccupy our attention so much. So let's do that body meditation and see where we get with that.